It. Okay, and hi everybody, this is Chana Messer. I want to make sure we have all the attendees here. This is Angela is here and Sherry is here. I turn off my video because it's a better connection for me. As soon as I turn on my video, you don't see me so well. I mean, the screen's so great. So just in the chat, let me know if you are seeing everything and you see my screen. Just say yes, no, and or anything else. I'm going to look at your chat. Just type somewhere. Great. Angela, hi. Hope everybody is healthy and staying healthy and taking care of yourself. I know it's kind of a crazy situation, but we are going to do the best. So I am going to start the seminar, and today we're going to do a workshop, designing your brand with Adobe Illustrator, and I am going to record it and then send a link, and then we are going to post it at the Annenberg Digital Lounge website. So when we're talking about branding, before even thinking about Adobe Illustrator, what are we talking about first? And let's think about it when we start working with that. So I just gave you an example here. This is a logo that we might do together, or you might just follow me and see what I'm doing. These are the fonts that the client was asking me to work with. And in this case, they were fonts that I downloaded from the cloud, and I'm going to show you how to do that. And these are some of the colors that the client sent me and wanted me to work with it. So before we start talking about branding, so we have to think about few things. The first thing is, especially when designing a logo and a style guide for a client, it's very important for us to establish a communication and get to know the client mission and statement, because that's the most important thing. What's a mission statement, the target audience, and later on, maybe the budget and the project timeline. And why am I talking first about the client mission statement and the target audience? Because if this one is not going to be correct, then you are going to fail with your logo. So you basically have to think, what are we creating the logo for? Are we creating it for young audience, for older audience, for a big marketing company, for real estate company, for nonprofit organization? Today in our project, we're going to look at a nonprofit organization, and we're going to try to create a logo like that. You always need to ask the questions before and compile the information to use later, because if you don't compile the right information before you start, then you are going to start having some mistake and you have to redo everything. Another thing you have to think about is the copyright and establish a guideline for that. So what does it mean? If a client wants you to use a certain image for your project, and you'll see in our project today we are using an image, we wanted to make sure we have a copyright for that. The image we used were over I think 80 years old, so we had like a free copyright for that because it was already public domain. But before doing anything, we kind of like checked out with the foundation and saw if we can even use that before trying. Then you have to talk about the project management. So what does it mean? Understanding the timeline that the client has, and then see how and when are we are going to deliver that. We have like maybe an initial kickoff meeting, so it is critical. So we talk about all the points that I'm talking to you about. So let's say if you're doing a certain design, you have to talk to the client right away about it. Then after establishing the communication and the colors and maybe the fonts, then you're going to start working on maybe the logo. But before that, let's look a little bit talk about fonts and hierarchy. So what are the font terms and the typographies that are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about a typeface, and that's a complete alphabetical, including letters, numeral, punctuation, and accent. We're going to talk about what is a font, a specific size and style for that typeface. So if you are talking about, let's use Optima, that's going to be the typeface, and the font itself, it's the specific size of Optima, the style of the typeface, if it is bold or italic or condensed, and all other points that we're going to talk about. And then we're going to talk about a character, which is a single element of type, letter, numbers, symbols, and glyph. While we're working, we're going to talk about leading, the space between two lines of type. We're also going to talk about type sizes, type style, and type weight. And over here you see like a sample. Not every typeface have the same characteristics and properties. What does it mean? Some typefaces, we're going to call it, let's say, italic, and some typefaces going to call it oblique. Some typefaces going to call it regular, some typefaces going to call it book. And then you have semi-bold, bold, extra bold, black, condensed, light condensed, extended, and so on. So depending on the typeface that you are going to use, you're going to see the family members. That's how I call them. Some typefaces have like one family member. Some typefaces will have like 20 family members, like your cousins, and they're all in the same house of the typeface itself. So a little bit about kind of typography. I put in an image of the classification, and you see here it's a serif font. These two are this one is a sans serif font. These two are serif fonts. Then you have cursive font, you have fantasy font, you have monotype font. All these styles are the styles that we are going to look at while we're choosing. And depending on the logo that you're going to use and how readable you want it to be, that's how you are going to establish which typeface are you using. So basically, the most common one that people are using are the serif and sans serif font. They are the one that people are using most of the time. The serif fonts have the flared with the extension or a stroke on the tip, and they see like little legs. That's how I call it. And then the sans serif font are more rounded. So depending what you use it for, that's when you're going to decide which font you are going to use before we're starting even to establish the stuff that you have. I'm not going to go through everything, but I have here like typography principle rules, and you can later on go over this PDF that I prepared and then read that. But basically, as a designer, I try not to mix so many fonts together, and my main goal is make it readable and use the fonts that are going to tell the story of your company. So right away when somebody is going to see the logo, it might tell you part of the story. You cannot achieve it all the time, and sometimes when you create a logo or all kind of branding, you're going to create it also with symbols. Again, with the color, you want to make sure you decide on colors together with the client. So if you are doing something for kids, let's say for elementary school, and you do a website for them and create the brand for them as an elementary school, you might choose kind of like fun, bright colors with reds and yellows and green. So and everybody gonna see that, they're gonna be kind of like happy. But if you're using something more serious, maybe you're going to use some more like brownie colors and down to earth color. It's really depending on the branding that you're going to decide. So over here I have like just typography concept, and I gave some sample about looking at serif and sans serif fonts. So you can look a little bit later. You can look at leading, and you see here I try to describe the leading and the goal and the techniques. And then you have the kerning, which is the space between a pair of character, and the tracking, which is the space for the entire thing that you have. And now, when understanding that, we're going to start looking at stuff and start creating our logo. So in this case, we want to go and today and create in Illustrator, we want to create a logo for a nonprofit organization. And the nonprofit organization, it's Mary Pickford Institute. Mary Pickford was one of the first silent movie actresses, and then she was a director. So it's one of the first women that's standing behind a camera. We're talking about the beginning of the century. There is a foundation. I'm not sure it's still active, but this logo, I created it for the client like 10 years ago. They hired me to create the logo for them. And then we were talking first about the idea of the company. So, as I said before, that was a film company. It's a foundation about educating students that cannot afford getting education about film, directing, and more. And it is the Mary Pickford Institute, and they wanted me to create a logo. They gave me few things to work with. They had a request about a typeface, and you can see here the request is Baskerville, either URW or round face. And by the way, I did give you the round face because I had that from the project. The Baskerville, the first one, you can download from the cloud. And then together we looked at the type specimen. What does it mean? We looked at the regular one, we look how it looks as italic, we look at it as medium, we look at it as another kind of italic, different kind of Baskerville that you can see here in front of you over here. And I'm going to go back here, and there's more and more with that. Where did I downloaded it? I downloaded it from Adobe Font, and if I click on this link at the moment, it will take me directly to Adobe Font. I don't want to click on it at the moment, so I'm going to go directly to my Adobe Creative Cloud, all the way up here just to show you. And then I can go to my Adobe Fonts, and they ask you some time to sign in. I don't really need to sign in. And then I can go back here and type Baskerville. And you can see as soon as I do that, I do already have all the Baskerville fonts, and I already activated it. So I don't need to activate it. I'm not sure if you guys are following me step by step. You have to tell me, or you are just watching me. But if you need a moment, you can go in and activate your fonts right now. Just let me know if you're doing that. Great. So I can see Sherry is getting the font right now. That's wonderful. I'm going to wait a few minutes, and then we are going to go back and look at it. If you do not get that, if that's going to be a situation that you cannot get that, when you go into the folder that I gave you, and I gave you the handouts and I gave you files, I also gave you a local Baskerville old face font that you can locally install it to your computer, because I figured maybe some people cannot install it right away. Does that make sense so far? And now I'm just going to go back to my I'm going to go back to my presentation and wait for you to see if you got the fonts. And then we're going to go in and do all the stuff that I have here in the presentation. Basically, we're going to go in and do it kind of like together. So what does it mean? We are going to go and do it together. So we're going to choose the colors together. We're going to place the fonts together. We're going to try to do everything together step by step. And let me know if you have that. So now, while I'm doing that, I am going actually to launch Illustrator. So I'm going to click to launch Illustrator. And let me know if you guys have Illustrator right now. Once you have Illustrator, we are going to go in and open a file and start working on the project. So what we're going to do now, we are going to do File and New. And then I'm going to go to the Print Intent, and I am going right away to change that to inches. And then I'm going to call it Mary Pickford. So I'm going to do MP, logo, and branding. And then I'm going to go and make it 4 artboards for now. I don't need to create any bleed because I'm just creating a presentation at the moment. So I really don't need to create any bleed or anything with it at the moment. And I'm going to go in and click create. And if I don't like the way my artboard are, because I am kind of like them to be in one long area, I'm actually going to go to my artboard panel, and all the way down I can go to rearrange artboard, and I'm going to make them as one long straight, and then I'm going to make kind of a space between them. Oops. And I'm going to zoom into it. So this is what I have just in front of me in this case, and now I'm going to start working. So the first thing I want to do in this case, I'm going to go to the artboard tool, and I'm going to click on the first artboard, and I am going to go in and name that colors and fonts. So in this case, we kind of establish already that we have the fonts. So if I need to copy and paste some stuff that I want, I can go in and do that. But I'm going to click first on the type tool, and I'm going to call it Mary Pickford. And then I'm going to call it Style Guide. And I'm going to do select all. Oops, I don't want to save it yet. I'm going to select all, and I'm going to make sure it's a little bit bigger, and I can see if I made a spelling mistakes. Of course I did, and I have that in front of me. So the first thing we're going to do together is actually we're going to choose colors. So what we're going to do is we're going to do File and Place. And I'm going to go to my branding area, and you see a folder that says Files. And I'm going to click here, and I have the final project to let you see later what we can do. And then I have the assets. And I have here some symbols in case you don't want to follow me all the way and later on you want to do your own thing. You can see the symbols already. But I'm going to click on Mary Pickford PSD, and I am going to link this one and click place. And why am I linking it? Because I want to go and include it later, the original file, I want to include it within the packaging. And I'm going to click and drag the image. And now I'm going to zoom into it. And this is a Photoshop image that they gave me. And they actually wanted me to use that in one of the logos. And I say, try to use it. This is Mary in front of the camera. It's public domain. I don't need copyright for it. They told me you can do whatever. But the original image were not so great. The original image, I went in and cleaned it in Photoshop. But for now, what we want to do is we want to make it actually vector. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit. And I am going on and hold on the Option or Alt key and drag a copy to the next artboard. Just a copy for now. And I'm still going to stay on this artboard, the first one. And what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to go to my eyedropper. And I'm going to click on brown. And then while I'm on this dark brown, I'm going to go to my swatch panel and I'm going to say new swatch. And then I'm going to leave it as is, or I can call it dark brown, but I'm going to make sure it is a global color. In the PDF that I gave you certain colors that you want to follow. We absolutely do not need to follow it today. We're just going to create our own colors. And then I'm going to go in and click OK. And then if I have my Creative Cloud library, I can go in and bring it directly to my library. So if I want to do a library for that, before even starting, I can go to my libraries, and then I called it your library over here, and actually have some colors from before that I actually created for you guys. So you can see that, but we're going to do everything kind of like from the beginning. So what I'm going to do now with you, I'm going to create new library, and I'm going to call it MP Style Guide. And I'm going to say create. So now, in the style guide, do I want to go in and just bring in Mary Pickford, just the original image, just to bring it in? Why not? Just in case I need it later and I can bring it back and forth anytime. Now I have already the color. So if I go to my swatch panel and I am going to say new swatch, and I'm going to make it global, you can see I can add it to my library. And now it's going to go in, and it takes a moment because we are over the internet, but I'm going to go in and add the color. You see, it's kind of like circling and circling and circling while I'm working with it. It might take longer than I want today, so I might just let it go, but if I want to put it in, okay, now I put it directly here. Now I'm still going to the eyedropper. I might go into a lighter brown and then do it again. Go back and say new swatch and click OK. So I have a lighter brown. Maybe I want to do even lighter than that. I'm going to go in and say new swatch, and I am going to bring it in. And maybe I want to make it in between. And I'm going to go back here and I'm going to do new swatch and click OK. And now you can see I have all the colors. I kind of want to add another color. I want to go to my orange, my default orange here, and I go to the second one. And I want to go and bring that to here. But before that, I'm going to double click and make it global. And let's talk for a minute about global colors. What is the difference between them? When you create a logo or branding or corporate identity or style guide, you might want to use global colors because these are the colors that are going to change globally when you have any change later when you work with some kind of stuff. What does it mean? I'm going to give you an example. I'm going to go File and Open. And I'm going to go to my branding and I'm going to go into my files. I'm going to go back here to my final project. So I'm not going to go directly. Here I have the final project over here. And then I'm going to go in. I have a Mary Pickford folder. And let's say I'm going to open the AI file for a second. And you can see here, this is kind of the project that I have here. It looks a little bit different. But if you're looking at my colors, all the colors that I use in this project are actually global colors. So if I'm going to double click on any of the global colors, I just need to do preview. And if I'm going to change some stuff, you can see that everything is actually changing in my logo. If I click OK, all of a sudden you're going to see absolutely different colors. So that's basically working with global colors. If you can see here, the green logo, if I double click on it, and I'm going to click on the preview, and I'm going to go in and change it. You see it changed here. And if I have the same logo somewhere else, it will change it as well. I don't want to change anything here, so I'm going to close it and not save it because I don't want to override it. But basically, this is how you're going to work. So if I want to go and work with the colors that I had, I can even go in here and let's create a rectangle. So I created a small rectangle. I'm checking to see if you have any questions. And I'm going to click on the brown color. And I'm going to look at the brown color. And if I double click on it, I'm probably going to see the CMYK of that. I might change it a little bit because I sampled it from an RGB. So maybe I make it 60, 76, 63, and 68. And then if I click on the preview, you can see it changing a little bit. But now I can go in and basically select that, copy it, click OK, and go below the color and paste the numbers that I have there. They're probably way too big here. So I'm going to go in and make it a little smaller. And I'm going to go in and highlight that and make that size 8. And I'm going to go back here and click and put it here. So basically what the client knows that I use that. And I'm going to zoom into it. I can select that now and hold on my Option or Alt key and duplicate. And duplicate. Command or Control D. Command or Control D. Depending how I'm going to do it, maybe I'm going to have more colors later, and I'm going to go and edit even later. I'm going to hold on Command or Control key and see I have it over here. But now I'm going to change it. I'm going to go to this one and I'm going to make it to the light brown. And then I'm going to double click on it and copy. I can change the colors, but for now we're not going to do that. And I'm going to paste. And then I'm going to go in again and go back to another lighter brown and double click on that and highlight and click OK and go to your type, select all and paste. So that's kind of like more or less a manual labor that you're going to have and do that. And then I can go actually to this guy and go to my orange, which is the default orange. And then I'm going to click OK, go to the type and select all. And by the way, we're doing it in one shot right now, but a lot of time when I'm start sampling the colors for the client, I'm sending them a little preview of that. And I'm going to start using it in a minute in type, and they're going to see if they want to use that. I'm going to go into my green and maybe double click on the green to create that as a global color and make it a little darker, and then highlight that and then add that to my library, click OK, and go back here and fill it with the color and go and do that. So I'm making like a nice looking green. I might go in and create another green from it a little bit later. And then these guys, for now, I'm filling it, leaving them a little bit different because maybe I'm going to use other colors. But for now, this is what I have. And then I'm going to start working with the colors. And it's not complete later yet, but I'm going to go in and I'm going to have to make this one a little bit bigger. And you can see I have some colors. And now I'm going to basically select just this artboard and go to my layers panel, and then go in and create a new layer and call the new layer artboard 1 MP colors. And why am I'm calling it MP colors, and why I'm going to call it artboard 1? Because at the moment, the artboards and the layers are actually not talking to each other in Illustrator. They will talk to each other in the future. So I want to separate it to different ones. So I'm going to call it MP. And sometime, believe it or not, I'm looking at the name of the artboard that I have, colors and fonts. I didn't do colors and fonts there, so I'm going to go back here and call it MP colors. And then I'm going to click on the little indicator and move it here. So now MP colors are in this artboard. And then I'm going to go to the bottom layer, double click, and I'm going to call it MP traced. Because now I'm actually preparing Mary Pickford to work with it the way I wanted it to be. So I'm going to go into Mary Pickford. I'm going to zoom it a little bit. And I'm going to hold on the Shift key and I'm going to make it a little smaller. And there is a reason for it, because it's a very high-res file and I don't want to create a lot of problem. So I'm going to go into the trace. I'm going to go all the way up to my control and click on trace. And you see it tells me it's going to be slow because it's a high-res file. But I'm going to say, okay, don't show it to me again. I trust you. And it is going to try to trace it. And you can see here, it traced it as black and white. If I want to go and leave it as black and white by default, I can still have it traced as black and white. So what does it mean? I can go and move her here, and while I have it, I'm going to open the trace panel. And I'm going to look how I want to trace it. And then I can decide in the options, I'm going to still want to have it black and white. This one. And then maybe I'm going to move it a little bit and I can see if it's going to look a little bit better. But what I have to pay attention to, if I wanted to ignore white or not ignore white. And what does it mean? If I go to view and show transparency, you can see that I am tracing her, but I'm also going to trace the white area around. If I say ignore white in this case, you can see that her face is also going to be transparent. Maybe I want to do that with this kind of stuff, and I can leave it like this. But now I'm going to hold on the Option key and click and drag it. And I'm going to do another trace. And in this trace, I'm going to go in and put it into color. And you see it's going to be slow. And you can do the same thing with grayscale and different kind of ideas that you have. And now what I really want to do is, in the tracing preset, I'm going to try that I want to make it high fidelity photo. And what does it mean, high fidelity photo? That's going to give me really all the details that I have. I'm not going to miss anything. But look what happens. It takes a moment. And when you have a high fidelity photo, when you trace it, that's when it doesn't ignore the white. So I got it in a nice way, but it doesn't ignore the white. So I wanted it to stay like this. But what I'm going to do now, I'm going to hold on the Option key and do another copy. And why am I doing another copy? These two copies that I have here are going to be the trace copies. So I can still go to it anytime if the client doesn't like it. The one that I copied just now, that's the one that I'm going to start working on. So I'm going all the way up and I'm going to expand it. And when you expand it, what you do is you're taking everything that you trace, and it is vector, and you're making it into objects. So look what happened right now. I traced it, but I have the background. So how do I avoid that? I'm going to go to my direct selection tool, and I'm going to select just the white background. And you guys, let me know if you have any questions. If you cannot follow me, or if you want me to repeat something, I'm looking at the chat pod the whole time and seeing if you have any questions. And I'm going to select that and delete. And I'm going to zoom in. And I'm going to click in the middle here and delete. And maybe here, delete. This one doesn't do it, delete. And I even might go in between the lenses here. I might need to zoom in and look at that and delete. Maybe I'm not going to go to this detail here, or maybe I can go to this one. Everywhere that I go in this, that's going to be a detail that I can delete or bring back. But look at that. This is Mary Pickford, and she's absolutely traced right now. And I can actually start working. So I might go in and lock the style guide for a second and go into view and show high transparency grid. And I might go and click and drag a text frame. And then I am going to call it MP image trace. And I'm going to do select all, and I'm going to make that, let's say, 36, and that's this one. And then underneath this guy, I'm going to hold down the Option or Alt key. I'm going to go and call it MP. I'm going to go in and call it MP expanded. So I know that this one cannot be retraced anymore. I can work with it. So I have that, and I'm really happy. So I don't need the trace panel. That's the last time we're going to go to the trace today, or we're going to look at it. But now I kind of want to save it. I want to save my file, of course. So I'm going to do File, Save As. And I'm going to go to my desktop. And I'm going to save it. And now I'm going to go in and start working on that, and I'm going to open my symbols panel. So I'm looking at my workspace over here, and I'm looking to see if I do have, I'm going to my workspace and I have the symbol panel. If you guys do not have the symbols panel, go to Window and bring the symbols panel. I don't want these symbols that I have here with these files. So I'm going to go to the flyout menu, and I'm going to say select all unused and delete these symbols. And it's asking me, do you want to delete the symbols that you have here? And these are the symbols that I'm going to go in and use. And I'm going to select this Mary, and I'm going to click and drag her over to the symbol panel. And I'm going to call it MP small. And I'm going to make her as a static symbol. Doesn't matter if it's a movie clip or anything else that you have there, it is okay. Basically, what I'm going to go back here and do with that is I am going to click OK. If I want to move it also to my Creative Cloud, I can also go back here and put that in my Creative Cloud. But in this case, I am going to go in and just leave it as is and save. Now I'm going to my next layer. And I'm going to open a new layer, and I'm going to double click here, and I'm going to call it Fonts. Or styles, typeset, type font, sorry. Now, I kind of want to go through over it, but we kind of like, I'm going to go in and click. And I know the client already wants me to do the typeface for project. So if the client didn't tell you, you're going to start looking for fonts. This one, they already told me what to do. So it's going to be really easy for me to work with it. So I can go back to my Creative Cloud. I can go back to my font that I just downloaded. And a lot of time what I'm going to do is I basically, just to show him Basker, if I go into Baskerville, a lot of time what I do is I basically highlight all these guys here, or even do a screenshot. And what does it mean? I'm going to go in and do a screenshot for these fonts that I'm going to use, and then putting screenshot, and then I'm going to go back to Illustrator and do file and place, and I basically place it. I'm going to go in and place it here so they kind of know which typefaces I'm going to use. Based on that, I might do a duplication and start working with the fonts that I use to create the stuff that I want. So now, once we have that, we can start working on our logo. So in this area, it might be even more font. So I'm going to do like a pretend, and I'm going to duplicate it because it might be 3 typefaces to show the client what to do. And I'm going to lock that and click on a new layer, and then I'm going to call it MP Logos Versions 1. And I say versions 1 because I might do a lot of versions. And I'm going to save. I want to make sure everybody is more or less following me. And now we're going to start with the one that we're working. So we're going to go to the type, and I'm going to zoom in. And I'm going to click on the board, and I'm going to type the word "the." And I'm going to deselect. And I'm going to click again, and I'm going to type Mary Pickford Institute. And I'm going to deselect. And I'm looking to see if I made a mistake. I didn't. And I'm going to click again, and I'm going to type for film education. And basically, I'm just doing that. Mary Pickford Institute for Film Education. I'm going to go in and select all of them for now. And I'm going to go to my swatch panel, and I'm going to decide which colors I'm going to use. So I'm going to use the dark brown. And I'm going to use that to start my logo. And I'm going to zoom into it. And this is basically the one. If I see all of a sudden that it's a little too dark, I'm going to double click on it. And I'm going to change it a little bit. I'm going to change it to 42 and 65, 67, and 31. Because all of a sudden, it looked to me a little bit too much. And I click OK, and you see it looking great. And I have it here. But I'm going to check out to see what's going on over here and see that in my colors, I have all the stuff here. And look what happened. I mean, my brown just changed it right away. And why did it change right away? Because it was a global color. The only thing that didn't change over here is basically the numbers that I wrote in there. So if I'm going to go back and double click on it, I might highlight that and click on the numbers over here, what I locked the layer. So I have to unlock the layer. But you see, even if I'm going to unlock this layer and paste it. And you see, right away, everything changed. And that's when you work with global colors. I'm going to zoom in again to my artboards. And I'm back to my Mary Pickford. I want to go to the type that I used, and I'm going to select everything. And now I'm going to go and find Baskerville. And then I am going to just do Baskerville, the regular one. And that's what I have. And I'm saving. And if I just want to show the client how it looks like this, I might actually select that, leave it like this here, maybe even go back here and type there, and just show them this is how the typeface looks. And now I'm going to duplicate it, and now I'm going to start treating it. So this guy on the top, I'm not going to touch it at all. I'm just going to work on the one in the bottom. And for that, I might want to go and bring some guides. So I'm going to go to View and Show Rulers. Command R to show my rulers. And I'm going to click and bring a guide. And I'm going to bring a guide to the side. And I'm going to go to the letter Z. And I'm going to highlight that. And it is Baskerville. But I want to go in and make that a different size. So I make it, believe it or not, for now, size 8. Actually, really small. And I'm going to zoom into it because it might be a little bit bigger later. So that's what I'm doing now. While I have it here, I'm going to go to the letter T and I'm going to do it small cap. And I'm going to highlight the whole thing. And if I go to the character panel, I'm going to make that into small cap. And I'm going to zoom in and bring it here. Then I'm going to go to Mary Pickford, select that, and I'm going to make that size 24. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. It's kind of hard to see with all the panels that I have here. So I'm going to reset my panels so you can see it something like that. And I'm going to go and make that 24. I did that, but I'm going to go to the character panel. And I'm going to make that optical kerning. And I'm going to make the tracking 200. And I'm going to make that small cap. And you see it looking like that. So while I have it, I'm going to take the word there. And I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. And I kind of wanted it to be aligning with the name M, with Mary. So almost like the word "the" is sitting on top of the letter M. That's it. And I'm saving. And I'm going to the second one here. And I'm going to put it below. And again, I'm going to make that small caps. I'm going to make that size 11. I'm going to move it a little bit between underneath Mary. But now I want to go in and change the tracking for it. So first I'm going to go in and go to the tracking and click and make it 200. And of course, it's not what I want all the way. So I'm zooming out and going to my guide and bring it to the end. So now when I have the word film education, I can go in and decide that I give it a lot of tracking. Maybe something like 1600. And then you can see it's not even the end of it. So I might go in and make it a little bit more. And my idea is basically, or maybe 1650, to almost make Mary, the letter N ending. So I'm making kind of like a little square. Again, this is going to be your design decision. Maybe you make the type a little bit bigger and less leading, or maybe you can do that. And this is basically a sample that I made here, just Mary Pickford for Film Institute. That's it. And I'm going to go in actually and lock my guides. And I'm going to select just the word Mary Pickford Institute. And I'm going to go to Object and Group. And that's going to be one logo already. And I'm going to go and put it here, like one little version. And I am going to go and before doing anything, I'm going to make it into a symbol. So I'm going to go in, new symbol, and I'm going to call it simple logo, no image. And click OK, and I have that as a symbol. And now I'm going to do another one. So I'm going to hold on my Option or Alt key and drag a copy. And by the way, when you're creating it later on, you really can move it to different artboards and do it in a different way. And then when you send it to the client, you can send the colors, and then the logo that they're going to choose, you're going to give them different sizes. One for a billboard, and one for letterhead, and one for envelope, and one for maybe business card or any other advertisement that you have. But now I want to go in and use the symbol. So I'm going to go in and click on the symbol and drag and drop it to the desktop. It's a little big for me, so I'm going to hold on the Shift key and I'm going to make it a little smaller, kind of like almost 30% of the size. If you don't want to do it like that, you can basically double click on your scale tool, do it uniform, preview, and maybe do it 50% and look at it. And if this is the size that you want, you click copy. And then you can go back here and you have the copy of the other one. I actually didn't do it the right way, but I'm going to go and make this one. Now I have the new one. If I really want to make that as a symbol right now, a new one, I'm going to click and drag and make it MP for logo. The other one was small, that's MP for logo. And I can make it static and click OK. So basically, this is the one that I'm using and bring it in here. So I have a different kind of style right now, and it's going to be Mary Pickford Institute. I'm going to tell them, look at this. It's going to look really beautiful if we have Mary standing there and shooting the video. And they're going to say, wow, maybe. I'm going to select all of it. You can group it if you want. But I'm going to click and drag and make it into a symbol. And I'm going to say MP with text. And that's it. And I'm going to zoom out. And then I might go into the first one and just put it here to the side, because this is just the beginning. And I might move a little bit my guides later. But for now, I have two logos and I'm saving. I want to ask you guys if you need any break right now, or you guys okay? If you need a 5-minute stretch break, it's a good time to do that. If you're okay to continue, we can do that. I'm drinking some water. You guys good to we can continue. Wonderful. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm zooming in. I'm going to zoom in, and then I'm going to select this logo, and I'm actually going to copy it. And now I'm going to zoom into the new one that I just made. This one. And I want to create some kind of graphics that helps me to do stuff with it. And then I am going to call it Mary Pickford with a beam or something like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to my pen tool. And I am making just no fill, just a stroke. And doesn't matter which color, and I'm going to click a little bit on top of her camera. One click. And I'm going to go in and create some kind of a beam. And I'm going to go a little bit down. And I'm going to go in and click, and you can see it looking like I'm going through the area and clicking and closing. And once again, it doesn't have to be exactly. I can go in and change it a little bit. You see, I'm kind of creating some kind of a little beam on top of her. Anything that you do could be okay for now. I'm going to select that. I'm going to say no stroke, and I'm going to fill it with my orange color that I had. It's basically covering her at the moment. While I have it here, I can go to my appearance panel. And then if you don't have it, you can bring it from your window menu bar. This is my appearance panel, and it's basically showing that the fill is orange. And then I want to go to the opacity, and I'm going to make the opacity 30%. It looks not bad, but I still don't like it so much. And why? Because it has kind of, if you deselect, it has very sharp edges. If you want to leave it like this, that could be another option. So the options are almost unlimited. But I want to go in and click on the beam and go to the appearance panel and click on the effect. One click. And I'm going to go in to my stylize, not the bottom stylize, which is the Photoshop stylize. I'm going to go into the upper one, which is the Illustrator effects. And I'm going to go to feather. And now I'm going to decide how much I want to go and feather it. So I'm going to click and click and click, and maybe I'm going to make it like 0.3. And this is basically up to you, on and off, and click OK, and look what happened. When you're looking at it, you can see that there is a beam that's coming out from her camera and going toward. If you want it to be on top, you leave it like this. If you want it to have it on the bottom, you can also go into your layers panel and go to the beam and just put it all the way down, and now you can see the Mary Pickford and the beam in below. I like it on top because I think it gives it kind of like a nicer look, so I'm going to leave it on top. And now I'm going to go to my symbols panel. I'm going to select that and Mary, and I'm going to go and make new symbol, and I'm going to call it MP with a beam. And you see I have another symbol here working with that. If I zoom out to it, I can see that I have a regular one with Mary and one with a beam. And of course I can do another one that can be with a beam. And if I want to leave it here on the same page, I might change a little bit my guides over here. So I might go select all of these guides here and move all of them a little up. And by the way, in real life, what you want to do is you want to separate it later to different kind of pages to make sure everybody sees it. I'm just kind of saving some space on my artboard right now for the presentation. If these guides are bothering you now, I'm going to go into my guides. I'm going to unlock this guide. I'm going to move it all the way up here. And then I'm going to lock the guides again. A lot of time I'm locking the guides for my layers panel, but for now I did that. Because what I really want to do now is I want to go in and show you another trick. And this one called layer mask. And what is layer mask? It's not actually layer mask. They call it opacity mask in Illustrator. So you basically go in and create a little mask that gives the beam another kind of look. So I'm going to select that and hold down my Option or Alt key and just do a copy. Now, this one is a symbol. So I'm going to go and say break link. And when I break the link, I'm just going to break the link of the top one, which is the beam. One like the other one, because the other one are not changing at the moment. And why am I breaking the link? Because if I do any change to a symbol, it will going to go in and change it on the other page as well. So now I'm going to just select the beam. And what I want you to do is do edit and copy. And I am going back to my transparency panel, or they call it the opacity panel. If you don't have your transparency panel, you can bring it from window and transparency, or you can use your properties panel and bring in the transparency. I like to work with the transparency panel as a standalone, especially when I make a mask. And while I'm doing it, I'm going to go into my layers panel and I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. So I'm going to look at the panel option so you can see, and I'm going to make it 60. And I'm looking at this area, and this is the little beam that I'm working with. Do you see that? The beam that has the special effect. Why am I showing you that? Because I really want you to see what's going on in the layers panel. I'm going to go to the flyout menu of the transparency panel and say new opacity mask are not clipping. I'm turning it off. And I'm going to click on the word make mask. And as soon as you click on the word make mask, you have another screen here, and you click on it. And look what happened in your layers panel as soon as you click on it. You get the opacity mask information. What is opacity mask? If some of you are working already with Photoshop, it's basically your layer mask. It will reveal and conceal areas of the object. The difference here is that you can use a lot of objects here within the mask to create something, and you can go and change the hierarchy. They all have to be, of course, you're going to use vector, but you can also put some pixels in there. So I'm going to click on that and do a paste. And I might go in and do edit and paste in place. And look what happened over here. It just went in, Command Z. I just copied. I want to make sure I just copied that. So I'm just going to click on just this and copy. I don't want to copy the others. I want to make sure and go back here and paste. And you can see I didn't do pay. Okay, that's not working because it was, I'm going to do Command Z. I'm sorry, my fault. I'm going to click on the symbol here again. And basically, I'm going to go in and just select that. I just want to copy this one. Edit and copy. And I'm going to click here and edit and paste in place. And you see the same beam is placed in there. I'm going to hold on my Optional Alt, click and click. This is the little beam that I have. You barely see it because it's very low opacity. But if I'm going to go into the opacity, do you see it is kind of grayish? Because it's inside the area that you have. So what I want to do right now, I basically want to play with the stuff that I have inside. Whatever you have black, that's going to go in and conceal. Whenever they have white, it reveals. So I'm going to go into my black. And look what happened if I have black. If I click back here, do you see it is actually making the area inside Mary Pickford transparent. If I go show transparency grid, you can see that this area is basically transparent. So this one is Opacity Mask. If I click again to see it, whenever you have the dark area, that's going to go in and have the orange that you have. Whenever you have lighter area, you are going to go in and see the stuff that you have. Does that make sense? I can go in and select that. If I hold on the Shift key, I can close the mask. I want to show you the difference between them. And then, once I have that, I'm selecting it. I'm going to go into my symbol panel and I'm going to say new symbol. I don't need to do it dynamic. I kept doing it dynamic. I don't have to. I'm going to say MP with a transparent beam. So kind of like you know what you did and you have that. So far so good. I have kind of few things to give it and I can go and continue. Any questions so far? And I'm saving, of course. While I'm working right now, I'm going to go again to my layers panel. I'm actually going to lock this layer. And I see I have already 4 artboards. So I'm going to go in and click on the artboard tool and I'm going to say new artboard. And I'm going to call it MP version 2. And this one was MP version 1. Within the version, there is version, of course, of each one of them. So I'm calling it version 1 and version 2, but in each version, you have other ideas. Now what I'm going to do is I basically going to create another concept. I want to create something else. I want to do a Mary Pickford that looks absolutely different. I'm bored with what I just did. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to my symbol panel. And I do have the regular one where it has the first one, MP with a text. So I'm click and drag and bring it over to my new layer. I have to make a new layer. I forgot to make a new layer. And I'm going to call the new layer MP version 2. And now I'm going to my symbols and I'm going to click and I'm looking at the one that I want to go and I'm going to go to the simple one and that's what I want to do. That's it, this one. If I don't want this guides right now, I can go to view and basically I can actually, I'm going to clear the guides for now or hide guides. That's it. And I'm going to move it here. And I'm going to zoom into it. Now I want to do 2 things. One thing that I want to do, I want to change the color of Mary. The second thing that I want to do is I want to go and create a different look for the logo. So the first thing I need to do is break the link. I broke the link of the logo, but the logo and Mary are still linked. So I'm going to break it again. And then I'm going to go into Mary itself And maybe she herself is just a link too. So I'm going to break her too. So I'm basically breaking all of them. None of them are links anymore. This one is a group, but this one is not a link anymore. I might go in and ungroup it even, and you can see, and then go and ungroup that. And now you can see Mary is a standalone and everything else is a standalone. I'm going to go to Mary itself, and I'm going to go all the way up to Recolor Artwork. And I'm going to go in to my edit. And yes, you see a lot of colors there. So I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to move it, and it's going to be really slow. And I'm going to move it around the area that it's going to be some green. And you see that Mary is looking green. I'm not going to go in and bring the group here for the entire color because it's going to be a lot of greens. So I'm going to click OK. The next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to zoom into it. I'm going to go to my eyedropper, and I am going to click on the dark green somewhere. And go to my swatch panel and say new swatch. And I'm going to make it global and click OK. And then I might click on the lighter green. And I'm going to go again, new swatch, and I make it global, and I have it here. So now you can see I have a lot of colors already. I might not want the other colors to be there anymore. So while I'm working, I'm going to say select all unused, and it's basically going to the color that you didn't use. But I don't want to do it yet because I can see it. Sorry. Because it's taking the other colors, so I'm going to leave it for here. And while I have that, I'm actually zooming in. Sorry. I drank the water the wrong way. I know I'm recording it, but that's what we can do. I'm going to go to my layer that has the colors, and I'm basically going to go in and change it. So I'm going to go into this brown and click on the new green and select this one and click on this green. And I'm going to go in and click on the light green and copy. And you can do it even later if you want, and zoom in. And paste. In real life, I'm doing it in the beginning. I'm choosing tons of colors and doing it, and then bringing the colors here. And I have more colors, and I might just select already here, and I might click on, let's say, a dark magenta and double click on it and making it a little more magenta-y. And then highlight that, make it global, and click. So maybe I have another color for later. And that's how I do it. Sometimes I do more colors than needed, and then I'm not using all of them. And I'm going to go back here and lock the layers again. And going back to the layer that I'm working with, which is all the way back here. And I'm going to zoom in, and this is what I'm doing. So I can see first I have the green Mary. If I really want to save her as a symbol, that would be a good idea. I'm going to go to the symbol, select Mary, drag and drop her, and call it Green Mary. Instead, I am MP. Instead, I need to use her later for something. So I re-symboled her again. Now I'm leaving everything as is, but I'm going to the bottom And I'm going to move a little bit the bottom sentence. And while I'm here, I'm going to go into my rectangle tool. And I'm going to click and drag a rectangle, a tiny one, from the beginning to the end of the sentence. And I'm going to zoom into it, something that looks like that. Could be an idea to create some kind of a logo that looks just like that. But I want to take it one step further. So I'm going to go to my swatch panel and I'm going to fill it with the green. I can have it just with the green. I can have another version just with the light green. So it's talking to that. You can see you can do different kind of versions. I'm not going to do all the versioning right now, but I want you to see where I'm going with it. Each one can do different kind of version. I'm just going to go in and select that and go to my gradient panel. And I can go to linear gradient. And then while I have the linear gradient, I might double click on the white slider and I'm going to make it dark. And I'm going to double click on the dark slider and I'm going to make it light. So you can see here, I basically have something that goes from light to dark. If I want to make it a little smaller, I can even do it a little smaller. So it's going to be a lot more elegant. I can double click here just on the sentence and move it a little bit up. I can also go in back to this area and move it a little bit and select another line over here in your panel and then go back here and change the opacity to 10 or even 0. So you can see what I created here is a gradient that has some opacity to it, and I can move it around. And then if I want to save that, I can go in here and save it. And save the file, of course. So you have a different look right now. I want to make sure it is kind of correct and you guys are okay and with me. Once I have that, I'm resetting for a minute my workspace. And yes, I'm going to select the whole thing and I am going to make it into a symbol. Why am I making it to a symbol? It's a lot easier for me to work with it. So I'm going to say MP green logo. So it's kind of like another idea and working with it. So now, what if I wanted to do another kind of idea here? I might go in and zoom out for a minute and go to my regular Mary Pickford, this one, the one without anything, and bring it over. And I want to go into this area and I want to go and change a little bit the colors. So I want to go in and change a color. So I'm going to go to my swatch panel and I'm going to say new color swatch. Oops. I'm going to go back here and say new swatch. I don't want to copy any swatch. I'm going to say new swatch. I'm going to go in, maybe I'm going to make it for magenta. I'm going to say new swatch. And now I'm going to change it a little bit and I'm going to make the cyan 50, the magenta 70, the yellow 80, oops, the yellow 80, and I'm going to make the black 70. Something like a different kind of brown. And I'm going to click OK and make it global. And then I want to go in and create another color. Oh, actually, I'm going to use this color right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click on the word Mary only, and I'm going to click on the new color, which is a lot darker. That's all. That's the new brown that I just made. I might need to edit for my colors later and click it as another brown, so I'll deal with it a little bit later. And I'm going to double click to get out of it. Now I'm going to go to my Ellipse Tool. And I'm going to click one time on the screen, and I'm going to make an ellipse that it's 1.6 by 1.6. And it looks a little bit big for me, so I'm going to go to the transform and say 1.5 by 1.5. And then I'm going to make it only with a stroke. And then I can decide the fill is none. And I'm going to make the stroke with the same brown that I did for the new color of Mary Pickford. And I'm going to go to the size of the stroke, and I'm going to make it 5 points. I'm going to make it 5 points. And deselect. Now I'm going to take the entire Mary Pickford, everything, I'm going to move it out to the side. And I'm just selecting the circle, and I'm just going to put it next to the word Mary. Just like that. And moving it a little bit down. I'm going to double click on the word, the film over here, and I'm just going to move it down. And then I want to make sure I'm not clicking on, because I think it's not a symbol anymore. Oh yeah, it is a symbol. So I'm going to Command Z. You see, I have to be careful over here because everything that I'm going to do now, I change actually the colors, which wasn't a good idea. I'm going to select that. I'm going to break the link first and then select that and move it down. And now I'm going to go in and click on my rectangle tool again, and I'm going to make a small rectangle. Again, looks almost like the other one. And I'm going to make it that it's really touching the other circle, almost like makes it as a handle. And I'm going to click on that, and you can see that I have the handle on it, and it's basically the same color. And I'm going to fill it with the color. I can go and make that into a gradient as well. So I might go into my gradient tool. I'm going to select first that. I'm making it to a different gradient. So I'm going to go in and do a dark brown. And this one I'm going to take away. And this one is going to be a real light brown. And then I can go select that and make sure that it is the right brown that I want. It didn't do the right thing. I'm going to go to my gradient panel again, and I'm going to make it the dark brown. And I'm going to do another darker brown over here, and then move it around. So basically, this is what I did. Something kind of looking like the other one, but a little bit different. I might go in and move a little bit the circle that are going to kind of align to each other. And then I'm going to select just the circle and go to my left and say draw inside. So now the computer knows that everything is going to be inside. And I can go to my symbol and go to the small Mary and basically bring her over here. And you can see if you're making her even bigger a little bit or whatever you do, she is inside this little lens. So I made another little thing that looks like Mary inside a lens. Now I'm going to select and go to my symbol panel and say new symbols, and I'm going to go and say Mary MP with a lens. And I have another one. So basically, I'm doing one, and the last thing that we're going to do another one, and then we're going to look at how we can prototype it. So I can go in and stay with the same thing, but I can do some other stuff too. You see, I have a lot of new things here. And then if I'm looking at all my artboard right now, in this, I can make it into a presentation, and look at that. All of a sudden, I can start seeing my logos. Of course, it's too crowded, but you can see my colors. I can add the other colors, of course. I can have the trace. I might have maybe the typeface going back there. And then this is way too crowded. So I might need to separate it into two artboards and things like this. And for everything, you can have explanation. But you see, I'm having some kind of style already. Does that make sense? I'm going to go back to this area. You see, this is too much. And this one, actually, I'm going to go and move it down. So it's going to be a little place to breathe. If I needed to separate these guys, I'm going to separate it to two areas in the same place. But now I want to go into my Mary Pickford, this one again. I'm going to select, and I am going to drag just a copy. And then while I have it, I'm going to break the link. And I'm going to select it again. And probably go into anywhere. I want to go into this one. And I'm going to make sure everything is breaking. So I'm going to select that and delete. Oops, sorry. Delete, double click, and delete. So it's not part of the grid. And I'm going to go and select this one. And I am going to go back here and delete just the circle. And I have Mary just, oops, she doesn't want to delete. Okay, I'm going to select her. I'm going to go to Object, Clipping, and Release. I forgot it was a clipping. So now basically I unclipped her, and I can go in and delete that. And I have just Mary like this. What I want to do in this one, I want to show you how to create a film strip. So I am going to go to my rectangle and click one time on the screen. And then I'm making it, the width is 4.7. And my height is only 0.2. And I am going to fill it with the dark brown. That's it. And you see I'm really zoomed into it. Then I'm going to go in and click on the screen and create a tiny rectangle. And the height is 0.09. I mean, the width is 0.09. The height is 0.09, sorry. And the width is 0.13. A tiny one, really tiny. And I want to go in, and for this case, I'm just going to fill it with white, because I kind of want to go in and think that I'm seeing it, and I'm going to say no stroke, so it's kind of a problem. And guess what? I'm going to click and drag and put it somewhere on top of the film strip here. And for this, you basically want to go in and zoom in a lot, because you want to go in and see what you do. So all what I want to do is I am going to go in and select this guy. It's going to be hard to maybe move it or duplicate it. So sometime I will go in and view and hide bounding boxes. I'm going to hold down the Option or Alt key and drag another one to the other side. Select the two of them. Double click on the blend tool. And in the blend option, I'm going to make, let's say, 14 specified steps. And then I'm going to go in and click on one with the blend tool on the other one. And look what you get. You basically get some three things around it. I forgot to make it into a round corner, because if I wanted to make the all the little squares round, I could, but I can make even a film strip that looks like that. And in this case, what I have now, I'm going to go into Object and Blend and Expand, and then Object and Ungroup. I don't want it to be grouped. And now I'm going to select it, and then after selecting it, I'm going to go into the Pathfinder. And I'm looking at my Properties panel, and I have my Pathfinder. And what you have in there in the Pathfinder, in the shape mode, you have something that says minus front. And basically it is a hole. If you go to View and Show Transparency Grid, you see it's transparent. You basically made a film strip. And then if I want to select it and click on it, I can make it a little smaller. I'm going to show my bounding box now. Hide the grid. Show the bounding. And I can even make it smaller and bring it in between. And depending where it is, it's actually Mary Pickford. And you can do it basically with or without. So I can go back here and just move her. She's still in the group. And I'm moving her here. I can have her in front, I can on the other side. I can do a different kind of version of the Mary Pickford the way I have it. And of course, I can go into symbols and I can click and drag. And a lot of time, by the way, I will also put the film strip itself as a symbol. And I'm going to say MP with the film. So I do have a lot of stuff, and of course, if you have time, you do other things, but I want to show you how to load other stuff that you have if you want to use some other thing that maybe somebody else did to create something. So go to the symbols and go to the flyout menu and go to Open Symbols Library and go to Other Library. And now I'm going to go to Branding. And I'm going to go into the files, and you can see in the assets, I do have symbol library. One of them has film strip. So I can go and do open. And all what I have here is just a regular film strip. So if I click on it, you can see I have a regular film strip that I can do anything with it. I can go to the flyout menu and I can say open symbol library, other library. And then I can go back to branding and asset, and I have the entire library. I built another library. Oh, this one is Mary Piso logo swatches. And actually, this is the film. The other one was the swatches and whatever I have. So exactly, I can actually save that as my symbol library and bring it back and forth and do it. So if I want to look at it, I might go and select this one and just move it, and then this one and move it. If I want to use anything with it, it's basically, this is the film strip. And you can do anything you want with it. You can put Mary in one of the films, you can put the logos in one way or another. You can put it in different ways just to create some stuff that you want. Does that make sense so far? And of course, you can separate it and then do it different sizes. And to show the different sizes, maybe you want to go in and create another artboard. So I'm going to zoom out. And then I'm going to go in and going to go in to create another artboard. And I'm going to say new artboard, but in this case, this artboard, I want to make it to have a different size. So I maybe wanted to make it 8.5 by 11, which is like this. Maybe this one can be letterhead. So I'm going to call it letterhead. And in this one, I can start putting some stuff to combine it. So I might go in to my layer and do a new layer and call the new layer letterhead. And this is really, you can start creating whatever you want on top of it. You can prototyping to anything that you want. So let's say in this case, if you wanted to go in and choose any logos that you want. So in this case, maybe we wanted to go to our symbols panel and we love the logo that has a transparent beam. Not sure. I hope I did that. I think I did it. Yeah. So I'm going to go and bring it. Let's say I'm going to put it over here, and that's the beginning. So again, you can put it anywhere. You can put it in the center of the letterhead, depending how people want you to do. Maybe because it's a non-profit organization, a lot of time they're going to have all the trustees all the way in the side, could be on the letterhead as well, could be anywhere that you want. So this is going to be your decision to where do you want to put anything and how you're going to go and look at that. So you can have the address, you can have it all the way down. So if I'm going to go in and click and drag, I can go in, and this is actually for position only, and look what it's reading. It's reading the last Baskervilles that I did. Doesn't have to be Baskerville. That could be maybe Myriad. And maybe this one is going to be Myriad, and this one, of course, look at this, it's going to be 0, and then you can go in and just type whatever you want. So I'm just going to type, let's say, 1400 Venice Boulevard. And actually, this is redundant. You don't really need to do anything with it now. I might go in and fill it with a placeholder. So later on, we can do the address. You can just go and do a tagline. You might even go in and just put Mary all the way here. And maybe you want to make her a little bit bigger. And maybe you want to go and make her a kind of like 20% or even less, 10% opacity. So she looks like a watermark, and now some of the letterheads, it's going to look like that. So it's another choice for you to create some stuff just to show the client. You can have a banner. So you can go into any size of a banner and call it banner. And then put anything that you want. So we're going to stay with the same Mary Pickford here. So maybe in this banner, it is going to be that in the beginning, and all the way down here might be some situation about event. So you can see here, I put it for position only, but you can already create the styles and everything that you want. If you want to have a little Mary below that, you can have that too. You can make an envelope. So I gave you sizes of envelope in your PDF. I gave you sizes of business card. Basically, everything that you do here can be part of the things that you're working. But now, before we move on, because I don't want to create all this artboard, I'm going to go in and save it for now. I want to make sure that in all my layers panel, I'm going to go in right now. I'm going to turn off the artboard number 2, and I'm going to go into my artboard number 2, and I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to see if this is the one that I have, and I'm just going to go in and look at that. So this is the artboard. I turned it off. Why? Because I kind of wanted to go in and make sure all the colors that I created are there. So I have that over here, and this one was a color. So I can go back here and change the numbers and everything. everything that I do, I want to do that. And then I'm going to say select all unused. And I clicked on something by mistake, so I might crash, but I want to go in. I don't want to do that. It's going to add all the selected colors, which I really don't want to do that. Hopefully we're not going to crash right now, but I did save mine. So I'm actually going to force quit Illustrator for a second. And force quit this one for a second. I'm sorry because it's just I clicked on the wrong thing. And then I'm going to go into my layers panel and see, this is why it took so long. Look what happened. Instead of select all unused, I clicked on select all colors, and you don't want to have that. But I'm going to go into the flyout menu and say select all unused. You will go and click all these colors, and I click on that. And then I have that. These are the colors that I used. It didn't take my gradient. Sometimes it won't take your gradient. So I might go into the area that I created some kind of gradient, and I'm going to unlock the layers and then add this gradient manually. And then double click here and then this gradient manually. So basically what you see here is just the color that you used, and these are all the global colors. And now I can do file and save again. You see it's going to take a longer time. And then before doing anything, I also want to go in and package it. It will take a moment while we're packaging it. And then I'm going to click package, and it will show you where everything is. It takes a while, and then I'm going to make a PDF from it as well. Why am I packaging it? So the client can see all the information and all the links files as well. If the font that you use is a cloud font, you're not going to see it in the package. The client is going to go and need to do it, download it from the cloud. I'm going to say show package, and this is what I have here. I have the fonts. Mine is in there. Why? Because I have this font on my system already from before. But you see, I have the myriad that I use for something. I do the AI file with all the artboards. And now I'm going to also go in and say file and save as. And then I'm going to go in and save it as a PDF file. And I'm going to find my folder. Unfortunately, they don't give you the folder together. So I'm going to double click on the folder. And then I'm going to click save. And I'm saving everything, all the artboards. And then I'm going to go in and I want to see view PDF after saving. And I'm going to click save. And now you can see that if I'm going to do Command L or Control L, I can start seeing my guide. Of course, in real life, when you have a guide, you might separate the colors, the font, and few symbols and styles. And then you can have another file with all the type and everything that you have and do it to different kind of stuff that you have. I'm going to escape it for a minute because it takes a long time to do that. But this is what we have here. So basically, I want to go escape it, but I cannot escape it right now. But this is what you have over here. I have my PDF. I cannot move it, of course, but I'm asking you if you have any questions while we move on to conclude the class. Any questions so far, how to work with it and how to look at Illustrator as something that gives you the idea how to play and work with Illustrator type, tracing, colors, global colors, and going in and I crashed again, but I just want to make sure you have any questions. I'm going to stop sharing for a minute and hopefully I can go in and share again the other screen. But what you have in your folder, and I'm going to go and share the screen again. I'm going to go into my desktop, and this is what you have in your folder again. You have another logo practice. You have a handout. In the handout, you have the one that I gave you, step by step for everything that we did today. We also have a social media. So if you need to take the logos that you're doing and bringing them to another area with different sizes, you can take the logo and the branding to this area too. And then I have another compiled PDF that tell you how to build an effective brand style. And it's showing you the steps that you are going to work. They don't tell you which software to use here, but they can tell you how to go in, how do you want to present, what the idea that you want, and they're giving you different kind of samples for other companies, how they're bringing their stuff and their branding. We took one thing, but you can see here they're telling you how it's going to work, how they're going to put it everywhere, what the style, and some company really asking you for creating a certain style guide for certain stuff, and you have to follow it, because if you don't follow it all the way, then you're going to have some problems. So I kind of thought that this guide going to be perfect for you. So a lot of time you can present the stuff here, you can put the colors and tell the client what to do, you can tell them what you have, and then you can continue doing the logo. The logo is the next steps, but the first one is basically deciding what are we going to do here. So you see different kind of examples that you have here, and you can have including like visual information, terminology that you want to do, all kind of stuff to show a nice brand that you can go in and send to your client. Does that make sense? Any questions? Any question, anything you guys want you to go back and show you? You have all the stuff there, and I am going hopefully to send you the recording, because I don't know if we recorded everything in the beginning, but I did record it with another software, so hopefully I'll be able to send you the recording. Any If you don't have any questions, I think we are at the top of the hour, so we conclude the class. If you have any other information and you want to talk to me about other stuff, feel free to send me an email. You have my email and you have the assets, and hopefully I'll see you soon.